Alexander the Great. At just 20 years old, Alexander ascended the throne of Macedonia after his father, King Philip II, was assassinated. Many expected the young king to struggle in the wake of such tragedy. But instead, Alexander seized control with unshakable resolve. His vision was not confined to ruling Macedonia. His ambitions stretched far beyond. Greece was fragmented, and the mighty Persian Empire loomed in the east, an empire so vast that its borders seemed to stretch beyond the horizon. His first move was swift and decisive. Alexander crushed Thebes, one of the most powerful cities in Greece, leaving no doubt that he was not to be challenged. But Greece was just the beginning. His true target was the Persian Empire, ruled by the formidable King Darius III. It was the most powerful empire on earth. But Alexander's ambition knew no fear. The young king led his army across the Hellespont into Asia Minor, beginning one of the most extraordinary military campaigns in history. In a series of brilliant victories, Granicus, Issus, and Gaugamela, he destroyed Persian forces despite being heavily outnumbered. His tactics were revolutionary, his charisma unmatched. Alexander's leadership electrified his men, and with each battle won, his legend grew. By the age of 25, Alexander had achieved the unthinkable. He had brought the mighty Persian Empire to its knees, crowned himself king of Asia, and begun reshaping the world. Having toppled Persia, Alexander could have rested, basking in his unprecedented conquests. But that wasn't enough. He wasn't merely interested in accumulating land or titles. He had a grander vision. He saw himself not just as a ruler of nations, but as a unifier of civilizations. With this in mind, Alexander merged Greek and Persian cultures. He adopted elements of Persian customs and encouraged his soldiers to marry Persian women. He believed that blending the East and the West could create a new world order, a grander civilization than any that had existed before. His dream was not just to conquer the world, but to unify it. But even after he claimed the title of King of Asia, Alexander's ambition burned brightly. He wasn't satisfied with ruling the lands of known civilization. He craved the unknown. He longed to push the boundaries of the world, to see what lay beyond the edge of the maps. And so he led his army farther east, into the unknown, toward the lands of Central Asia and beyond. The road ahead was treacherous. Alexander's campaigns took him through deserts, across snow-capped mountains, and into jungles that seemed alive with danger. He faced brutal resistance from the fierce tribes that inhabited these lands, but nothing could stop him. He drove his men forward, leading from the front, charging into battle alongside them. His bravery was legendary, his will unbreakable. At last, he reached the banks of the Hydaspes River in India. There, he met one of his greatest challenges, King Porus, who commanded an army that included massive war elephants. beasts never before seen by Alexander's men. The Battle of the Hydaspes was fierce, bloody, and terrifying. But once again, Alexander emerged victorious, though not without great cost. Many of his soldiers had grown weary, not just from the fighting, but from the endless march into the unknown. After years of continuous warfare, his men finally rebelled. They had followed him across half the world, but the time had come when they could march no further. They demanded to return home. It was a bitter moment for Alexander. He stood at the edge of the world he had dreamed of conquering, yet his men's exhaustion forced him to turn back. Though he could no longer march eastward, Alexander's journey was far from over. Even in retreat, he continued to shape his empire. Along the way, he founded cities, over 20 in total, each bearing his name, Alexandria. These cities became centers of culture and trade, ensuring that the legacy of Greek civilization would endure in lands far beyond Greece itself. His greatest achievement, however, was not the cities he built, but the unity he sought to create. He envisioned an empire where Greek, Persian, and Asian cultures could flourish together, forging something greater than the sum of its parts. His soldiers married local women, and he invited Persian nobles into his inner circle. He was no longer just a Greek king, he was the ruler of a new, multicultural empire. But despite his incredible achievements, the relentless pace of conquest had taken its toll. In 323 BC, just as Alexander was planning new campaigns to expand his empire even further, he fell ill in Babylon. Within days, the great conqueror, the man who had never known defeat, was dead. He was only 32 years old. Though his life was short, Alexander's impact was immeasurable. His empire, stretching from Greece to Egypt and all the way to India, was the largest the world had ever seen. But his true legacy was far more than the land he conquered. Alexander had spread Greek culture, philosophy, and science across 3 continents, creating the foundation for the Hellenistic era, a time of remarkable cultural exchange and intellectual achievement. Alexander's empire did not survive long after his death. His generals, the Diadochi, carved it into rival kingdoms, and his dream of a unified world faded. But the legend of Alexander the Great never dimmed. He became a mythic figure, a symbol of ambition, brilliance, and invincibility. His tactics are still studied by generals today, and his name remains synonymous with greatness. Even though he died young, Alexander the Great had done the impossible. He had transcended the limits of what a single man could achieve, and in doing so, he became immortal. His empire may have crumbled, but his story lives on, forever etched in history, a shining example of what it means to conquer not just nations, but the very essence of time itself. As long as his name is spoken, Alexander's empire will never truly fall.